There are many beloved heroes in literature, film, and TV. But what makes a hero a Christ figure? The proliferation of these self-sacrificial figures sometimes makes the difference hard to tell. Heroism requires virtues that Christ possessed, such as courage, patience, and kindness. However, a Christ figure will usually feature more direct parallels to the story of Jesus, sometimes even down to the cruciform poses that he or she makes. A Christ figure in a story serves as the savior of that world, the one single hope for humanity, who will one day restore everything because he or she is the only one qualified to restore that world to its original state, or to a better state than before, whether that means defeating the villain or breaking the curse. This is much like the way Christ in the Bible is the promised king, the only one who is both God and man, and therefore uniquely fit to reconcile sinners to himself, restoring the love God and man enjoyed in the Garden of Eden. A Christ figure also usually sacrifices himself or herself for the good of the many. Sometimes the sacrifice will be just for one person, like in the case of Sidney Carton from Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities, who switches places with Charles Darnay, his look-alike, who is imprisoned about to be guillotined. In the case of Aslan from the Narnia series, he sacrifices himself for Edmund, despite Edmund's betrayal of his family and Narnia. Like Christ, Aslan gives himself up to be brutally mistreated and killed. In both cases, the motivation is love. For Aslan, the benevolent love toward Edmund, and for Sidney Carton, the love he has for Lucy Manette, wife to Charles Darnay. These examples parallel what Christ suffered on behalf of all those who would put trust in him for the forgiveness of sins. In the case of Aslan, he returns triumphantly back to life, just like how Christ raises himself 3 days after his death. In some Christ figures, the resurrection is just metaphorical, not literal. One example is in the second Captain America film, in which Captain America, also known as Steve Rogers, falls to an initially uncertain fate, but is later revealed to be alive. This unconscious plunge into water reads as burial symbolically. So though he doesn't literally come back to life, we do see a resurrection of sorts. Rogers also lets himself get pummeled brutally just to rekindle the sanity of his former friend, who has become a brainwashed super assassin. Rogers' sacrifice parallels how Jesus in the Bible lays down his life for his friends. The critical difference being that Roger sacrifices himself in the hopes of bringing his friend's sanity back, while Jesus in the Bible sacrifices himself with the certainty that he'd be able to bring salvation for all those who would trust in him. Popular stories made by the Western world or its westernized allies will feature heroes who are coded as pseudo-Christs or pseudo-saviors. Though they may be non-Christian characters, they exhibit Christian virtues, like chivalry, which is compassion practiced by the strong toward the weak. Royals to their subjects, masters to their servants, men to women, and grown-ups to children. Prior to Christianity, heroes did not always have such regard for the vulnerable. Before the Roman Empire accepted Christianity, women were largely property or second-class citizens, and children were objects able to be discarded or sexually exploited. In this regard, it does make sense why so many popular works of art borrow imagery from the story of Christ. This is especially true in Aragorn, who, like Christ, is a servant-hearted king. His ability to heal is a reference to Christ's ability to heal sinners of their love of sin and spiritual deadness. Another Christ figure is Frodo, who shoulders the weight of all evil without becoming corrupted. Another parallel is the way Frodo needs help from Sam while carrying the ring, much like the way Simon of Cyrene in the Bible helps Jesus carry the cross. This scene too references Christ, who drinks a cup that none of us could ever drink, to the last drop. Just like how Christ, prior to being crucified, asked God the Father to remove the cup of God's righteous wrath from him, Dumbledore too asks Harry to stop feeding him the deathly water. This brings us to Harry Potter himself, who is a reference to the one who survived the ultimate death curse, Whereas Harry earned his scar without much say, the ultimate chosen one earned his scar and stripes willingly, not on his own behalf, but on behalf of all those who would trust in him. As secular as today's audiences have become, they still remember the Christian symbolism from the legacy of Western civilization, which was largely Christian before modernism came along. Even though the Western world and its westernized allies are only loosely Christian, they still expect and long for some Christian values to be honored on screen. This is especially noticeable whenever Hollywood adapts pagan myths. The promiscuous Zeus becomes a faithful monogamous husband, and Hades becomes a stand-in for the Christian idea of the devil, despite his more neutral role in the original myths. But as society drifts farther and farther away from Christianity, the more our favorite characters drift away from embodying Christian ideals. As Western society continues the downward spiral from nominal Christianity to postmodernism, we see fewer and fewer characters in popular storytelling who are humble, masculine, chivalrous, self-sacrificing protectors of others. Instead, recent sheroes are increasingly self-important, despite lacking an objective moral framework to defend that self-importance. Many of them also tend to be self-righteous and defensive, highly given to virtue signaling. They often co-opt Christian symbolism to promote cultural Marxism. Today's messianic hero is no longer an actual hero, but someone devoid of clear moral convictions. In fact, the more morally ambiguous, the better. As long as the anti-hero is compelling and complex, any number of his cruelties can be justified in the name of being interesting. Using trauma and self-empathy as a justification, they declare themselves as the sovereign authority over their lives, singing anthems that go, "No right, no wrong, no rules for me, I'm free." This expressive individualism steals our birthright to enjoy and live for the God who loves us. Instead of submitting to the roles that Providence has assigned us, we elect ourselves as the supreme arbiter of reality, usurping the place of the true creator, just as Adam and Eve tried to replace God. How did we get here? How did we get from the Aslans and the Aragorns to serial killers, witches, and literal demons? Well, we grew numb to violence, to the point that it has become an aesthetic. We have also long accepted witchcraft, and not just the fanciful fairy tale type. We stayed loyal to characters who regularly took the Lord's name in vain, even those of us who are Christians. We treated fornication like it was a rite of passage, and ogled at transactional, commitment-free sex. We accepted perversion after perversion until it became a staple in every other show. The list goes on. We, Christians included, have forgotten what true art and true beauty looks like.
God is a gay man.
Perfect.
I always believe it. In moments like that, I'm like, I told you. That's why I've done so much for the gay community, because God's gay.
Wow.
Boom.
I just thought you were teeing that up for something beautiful. I was not expecting that message.
No, I know Ariana thinks it's a woman, but I think it's a gay man, okay?
But if the creative team really wanted to be edgy, why doesn't the Hollywood Bowl stage a Muhammad musical? They could call it Man from La Mecca, with Cynthia Erivo in the lead role. They wouldn't dare. But why is offending Christians fair game?
Why did the Hollywood Bowl attempt such blasphemy? More importantly, why did our culture have supply and demand for such demonic content in the first place? Something has changed within Western civilization. People's understanding of anthropology has changed, thanks to postmodernism, feminism, Darwinianism, transhumanism, and cultural Marxism. Art imitates life, so we must pause and wonder, is everything okay with us? Or is there something seriously wrong? Are people in our society well, and have placed their trust in the one true shepherd, or are they trying to be their own shepherds by trusting in their own goodness? And what about you, dear viewer? Have you, for yourself, examined the claims of Christ? Or are you letting culture decide for you what they are? The truth is, no Time Lord, nor any rescuing king, nor any superhero can save you and me. At best, they are pale imitations, and at worst, imposters of the real thing. So don't settle for the counterfeits. Make today day one with your Savior.